Wow, 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 wow. All right, y'all. Let's get to it. So Andy Ruiz has shocked and destroyed Anthony Joshua in a seventh round TKO in Madison Square Garden that took place last night. Man, I'm just almost lost for words here. I mean, first things first, I have to say is that congratulations to Andy Ruiz of becoming the first Mexican heavyweight champion of the world. That's the first thing I got to say. The second thing I got to say is that he definitely proved a lot of naysayers wrong. Okay, now mind you, he proved me wrong because I thought he wasn't going to. He was going to be knocked out by the sixth round, but my oh my, I was definitely wrong on this one. Now I can say is this though. I've always said that Andy Ruiz definitely have the skill set. You know, given that his physique is totally says the opposite. And, I've always said that don't let that physique fool you because Andy Ruiz can fight. He definitely got skills. He's got incredible hand speed for a guy for his size as a heavyweight. Okay? Now, where do I begin? I'm going to begin leading up to this fight. And I'm going to point out the red flags here, leading up to it, okay? Because I know some guys are coming at me by pointing out these red flags as if I didn't know what I was talking about. I'm going to start with the body language in the interviews that Anthony Joshua was giving leading up to his fight with Andy Ruiz. Okay, I sensed there was some lack of enthusiasm. The fact that he was getting banged up in sparring with his broken nose and his face getting scarred up. That to me showed the indication that Joshua didn't really want to be in there. Not be in there, but didn't want to. Wasn't very. He was interested. He was not interested in the fight, and he was carrying some type of injury because he looked totally out of it in a way as far as not being in his comfort zone, not willing to answer not willing to engage in questioning with reporters. It just, even though he did conduct it in a professional manner that he could do it, but he just didn't want to be there for some reason as far as, leading up to the fight and having his pro debut in the United States of America, which is the bigger market, by the way, than the UK. Let's be realistic here, okay? And another thing I noticed is that he was definitely overlooking Andy Ruiz as his opponent. Let's be real. He did, okay? I have reason to believe that when Andy Ruiz got the call, Joshua and his team looked at Andy Ruiz. And even though Andy Ruiz and his team reached out to Andy Hearn in his camp and said, hey, you know what? Let's make the fight. And they looked at his size. They looked at his physique. They like, this guy's too small. I mean, I don't know if, they looked at, Joshua would be able to spark him out here. No problem. So, I mean, this is the thing about about boxing, particularly in heavyweights. You don't overlook your opponents. That's the last thing you need to do, and that's a cardinal sin in my book, okay? And I also brought this up on one of the live chats or, the private conversations I had with some of these guys. I said, look, Joshua is genuinely looking over Andy Ruiz because he's rarely talking about him. He's not really talking about what type of strategy he's going to employ against him other than the press conference. It was like little to no questioning about Andy Ruiz. He really wasn't talking about him. All he could talk about was Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury. That's all he could talk about. Okay. And I said, yes, one of the guys, Edgeno, shout out to Edgeno TV. Edgeno was saying, look, he was only answering questions about Wilder and Fury because he was asked about it. I said, yeah, you know what? You're right. Fair enough. But as Joshua, as a fighter going into a fight, he should have told these reporters respectfully, say, you know what, sir, ma'am, I appreciate the questioning about Wilder and Fury, but I do not want to answer it right now. Why? Because I'm not focused on them. I'm focused on my opponent at hand, so please ask me questions about my opponent, Andy Ruiz. And he didn't do that. So that was overlooking his opponent was another red flag. Another red flag that I noticed and I read in the papers that he hired a sports psychologist days before the fight. Why did he do that? I'll tell you why. Because as I said a long time ago, is that Anthony Joshua was under a lot of pressure. Because look, there's a huge financial backing behind him. He's a big draw, one of the biggest cash cows in boxing, particularly at heavyweight. We all know this, right? And he's making his American debut, and he has to really make an impression for those who be backing him, particularly the zone investors and the broadcasters. Zone is the broadcasters, by the way, and the endorsements that he was lining up to get, and the media tours that he was doing here. So it was a lot of pressure that he really could not handle. Okay, he could not cope with it. Just the way it is. He just couldn't do it. Okay. And another red flag, and EJ brought this out. Shout out to EJ. Brought this up. Shout out to EJ Boxing Live, by the way. EJ we all noticed this at the first face-off with him and Ruiz, is that he handed his belts over to Andy Ruiz and his team during the face-off, and they were holding him up. Me, personally, I didn't really read too much into that because Deontay Wilder did that to Tyson Fury, when Fury fought against Pianetta in Belfast, whatnot. But that, you could say that was considered a red flag because when Joshua did that, he literally walked away out of the podium and Andy Ruiz was standing there with the belts and his trainer holding him up. And I was like, okay, maybe that is a red flag that needs to be taken into consideration, okay? And another red flag, it was a long delay of him coming out of his dressing room. When I noticed that during the Zone broadcast, I knew something wasn't right. Something was wrong, okay? When he finally came out with his team and his trainers and his cornermen, he was chewing on his mouth guard, and I thought that was some sign of nervousness right there coming from Joshua because I never see him do that. He was chewing on his mouth guard, and one of his cornermen was massaging his neck during the middle of the PA announcement. So I was like, wait a minute, why is the cornerman massaging his neck? And I said to myself, you know what? He's carrying some type of injury because it may have happened in sparring. They didn't want to disclose it, and the reason why they probably couldn't back out of the fight or delay it due to his injury is because there was so much money behind this and he had to make an impression, and they looked at the opponent that they were facing and it's like, we should be able to get out of this, no problem. Okay, now let's get into the fight. First round, definitely gave it to Ruiz. I mean, even though it was a fill-out process, but Ruiz was actually much more active in that round, more so than Joshua. What Joshua was doing is that, yes, he was filling him out, but he seemed very cautious, and obviously it was no surprise because after the Klitschko fight, he'd been fighting a very, very cautious fight for the last 2 years or so, okay, after that Klitschko KO. But the fact is that he was pounding out his jab, which was a lazy jab against Andy Ruiz, and Andy Ruiz was able to slip it and throw his combinations. And then when Ruiz landed his combinations in the second round, Joshua felt that. Ruiz doubled to the body with the left hook up to the top, and Joshua was reeling from momentarily. He was like pretty stunned. He was like, God damn, this guy can actually punch. Joshua had that reaction. He's like, God damn. Even when he was trying to throw it right, then Andy Ruiz was coming in with the 3-punch combination in the inside. And I said to myself, you know what? Do not mix it up in the inside with Ruiz because I'm just from that exchange, Joshua's not going to win the fight in the inside against Ruiz. He's not going to do it, okay? But on to the second round, I did score for Joshua because it seemed like he finally get his rhythm. He's starting to find his way in the ring. He's starting to get his composure, whatnot. He's starting to let the nervousness out of his system. But the one thing I can say, though, is that I noticed there was some signs of fatigue because me and my brother were watching this, and I said, man, this guy's getting tired. And my brother is a big Anthony Joshua fan. He was like, no, he's not getting tired, Dan. I was like, no, he is. The dude is blowing in his quarter. Look at him. He is blowing already. Something's not right. He's getting fatigued. And lo and behold, the third round, there was an exchange in the inside, and Joshua won that exchange, the only exchange he won. He caught Ruiz with a powerful left hook, and he dropped him very, very hard. And this is the first time Andy Ruiz has ever gone down as a pro. The first time ever, okay? Now, as Ruiz got up from the knockdown, he regained his composure. He didn't look hurt, so he actually relaxed. He stayed, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, he stayed composed. He stayed focused. He didn't panic. So, and the reason why Ruiz didn't panic is because he's been down this road before. Yeah, judging for the fact he's had 33 pro fights, which is a significant amount of pro fights, but he's had a pretty lengthy amateur career. He's been through situations like this, so this was nothing new to him. So what he did is that he regained his composure again, went back to what he wanted to do. Then Joshua came in with a 1-2, stunned Ruiz. Yes, I'll admit he did. And then he tried to go for the kill, which was a terrible mistake. He tried to end the fight early, thought he had Ruiz what he wanted, and look what happened. When Joshua tried to mix it up in the inside against Ruiz, leaving himself open, then Ruiz caught him with a left hook to the temple. And then Ruiz was hitting him with flurry combinations, and Joshua was rocked from that. He was hurt badly from it. And then he got caught again with a right hook to the temple on the right side of his head, or left side of his head, and he went down hard, man. I mean, it was just me. I'm gonna just be very honest here. This is my opinion. When Andy Ruiz, and I saw the replay, when Andy Ruiz caught him with the left hook to the temple, it didn't look like Andy Ruiz threw a lot of mustard into that punch. And this is where I got to question Joshua's chin. I know I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt with his chin, but dude, he really got hurt from the temple shot in the head, which Andy Ruiz didn't really land, put muster into that left hook. He didn't. On the right hook he did, but not on the left hook. Then in left hook, and I was very worried about that. I was like, wait a minute, how can you get hurt from that? Because Andy Ruiz didn't really throw much into that shot. He didn't. And then when Joshua got knocked down, he got back up. He tried to go into the inside exchange with Ruiz again, and Ruiz was getting the best of him. And then he tried to go on his back foot, and this is one of Joshua's Achilles heel. He cannot fight off the back foot very well. He did improve a little bit in that area against Povetkin, but when you push him back, really push him back, he can't fight on the back foot. He can't do it. And then when he was on his back foot, he didn't have his legs. He was really not there. He was gone. He was out on his feet on that point. He was, okay? And then, when the round was closing, Andy Ruiz came in, lunged in with a good, quick 1-2 combination, launched 12, 15 unanswered punch combinations and shots, whatnot. Joshua went down again, almost fell through the ropes. He was out, got back up. The referee, by the way, gave him the benefit of the doubt in this situation because the referee asked him to come to me. Joshua didn't respond by coming forward, but when the bell rung, he barely took 2 steps, but when the round ended, he stumbled back to his corner and he was out on his feet. And Rob McCracken was trying to get him, trying to create some type of urgency in him, whatnot. But going into the later rounds, I gave at least Joshua one more round other than the second round. I think it was the 5th round, I think, when he landed a good 1-2 combination and he tried to go in to kill against Ruiz again, and then he almost got caught when he tried to do it, and then he went back, which is a smart thing to do, but he still didn't have his feet underneath him. He didn't. In one of those rounds, I think it was the 6th round, I believe, when Ruiz actually won that round and obviously dominated that round to an extent, he hit Joshua with a very blistered combination, punches that Joshua didn't see, okay? He gave him a hard body shot, which really had Joshua reeling, and he was hurting badly. He was really reeling back, okay? He didn't really want to, he had his hands down, he was too upright, and once again, Anthony Joshua did not show any head movement. I was screaming in the through the through the TV, and I was like, wait a minute, where's the head movement? Where's your fucking head movement? The only time Joshua showed the head movement was that he ducked out of a monstrous left hook that Andy Ruiz threw at him. And Andy Ruiz missed him with that, because that would probably been over from that point. But when he got hit with that shot and when he went back to his corner, Robert McCracken was giving him instructions and whatnot, and Joshua was like, okay, what shot did I get hit with again? And he's like, I'm not feeling right. Something's not right. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, something's not right. This fight's going to end pretty soon. And lo and behold, and when Joshua hit Ruiz in the exchange in the inside, he hit him with a left hook. He caught him, and then he thought he had him hurt. And next thing you know, Ruiz caught him with a right hook that Joshua didn't see coming. Hit him with a combination. Hit him with a straight rights. And by the way, Joshua had no answer for those straight rights that Ruiz was throwing at him, and he went down again. Spit out his mouth guard, got back up, and then he tried to, mix it up again the inside with Joshua, which is a terrible mistake. He should have just, tried to take the round off and recover, but he didn't. He thought he had Ruiz reeling with a hard jab, and then Ruiz hit him again with a blindsided with a counter hook, and he went down again. He spit out his mouthpiece, went back to his corner. He looked in the corner for some reason. I don't know why he looked at his corner, but then again, the referee said, okay, do you want to continue? And I know Joshua nodded yes, but the referee asked him, okay, let's go. He gave him opportunity to continue to fight, and Joshua didn't respond, and that's when he waved off the fight. And from that standpoint, that's where it led to the speculation that Joshua quit. This is one thing I got to say about this. Did Joshua quit? Did he quit? Yeah, he quit. Okay, he quit mentally, because when he walked back after that 4th knockdown, when he walked back to that corner, he looked at his cornerman, and I think he was looking for them to throw in the towel, because he didn't want to say he quit, so that way he didn't looked embarrassed in a way. But with him not responding to the instructions by the referee, that just gave me the indication that he wanted to get out of there, because he knew in his mind that I'm not going to win this fight. I'm taking a very terrible beating. Believe it, you can guys, some of the Joshua fans can, fanboys, I got to call them, can be in denial about this, but he took a very bad beating in there, okay? There was no way he was going to win that fight, and there was no way he could continue in that state, because he literally was gone. He was gone, okay? And when the referee stopped the fight, Joshua was being gracious to Ruiz. He was smiling. He was happy. He took the loss like a man, which he should do, and I do commend him for that. But the one thing I did notice too is that my brother, I should say, noticed that, you know what? As a Joshua fan, it seemed like he didn't want to be there, and I'm very disappointed. And, my brother could be right, because from his body language, it seemed like he didn't want to be there. And he seemed very relieved that he lost the fight. Why do I say this? Because one, not only Eddie Hearn mentioned this during the interview, I also noticed that he was very happy that he lost the fight, because now the pressure is no longer on him to keep those belts. All right. And the one thing I have to say is that Joshua's probably so relieved to the point, and this is the reason why, people, Eddie Hearn, mentioning that, you know what, we're going to have to take an immediate rematch. It's going to have to be in the UK. And I'm saying to myself, why take an immediate rematch? Why? Joshua's not going to win that fight if this is an immediate rematch. He's not going to do it. I just can't see how. This is a bad stylistic matchup for him, okay? And also, when Joshua asked about that, he said, yeah, I'll take it, but I'm not sure if it's going to be immediate, okay? Now, by that line of answering right there, I have reason to believe, and I have been proven wrong before, is that we won't be seeing Anthony Joshua for a long, long while. He's going to take a long, long, long layoff, and he's going to have to rethink his career. And from this standpoint, he probably may consider retiring at this stage, because he's going to say to himself, he's like, look, I've made so much money already. What's the point for me to continue? I've been a champion for a long while now. Why do I have to continue this? Now, to me, I think he should continue his career. I think he'll be back. But again, I don't think he'll be back anytime soon. He won't. He just took a terrible beating. Now, some people are going to say, well, the upset, in regards to the upset, some people are comparing this to Mike Tyson's upset loss over Buster Douglas. And they think this is parallel to that. I have to strongly disagree with that. And let me tell you why. For one, Mike Tyson ran through his entire division by force, okay? Two, Mike Tyson never showed any vulnerabilities before the Buster Douglas fight. Three, he was the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. So Anthony Joshua, before the Ruiz fight, has shown many vulnerabilities. He was always getting hurt. He was always getting clipped. He always made many mistakes in the ring. The only time Mike Tyson ever got hurt leading up to the Douglas fight, before the Douglas fight, I should say, is that he got caught with a left hook when he got overexcited. I say overexcited, he got over anxious against Frank Bruno in their first fight. Okay, that's the only time he got hurt. But other than that, he recovered extremely well. And that's the one thing about Anthony Joshua. When he gets hurt, he doesn't recover extremely well. This is where I have to question his recuperative powers. He doesn't have good recuperative powers. I heard one uploader also say that his survival skills is very, very bad. Yes and no. He did try to hold on. He tried to hold on when he was getting hurt and rocked by Ruiz. I just think that he was so tired and he was so fatigued that he didn't have the strength to do it. And again, his stamina has always been a suspicious thing. Here's the one thing I got to say about that. And a lot of people, a lot of Joshua fanboys say, you don't know what you're talking about, Dan. He's got good stamina. I was like, no, he doesn't. And the one thing about stamina and endurance is that it's a natural attribute. It's either you got it or you don't. And sadly, Joshua does not have that at all. He doesn't. Okay. Look, I'm not trying to beat up on the guy. I'm not doing it. I'm just pointing out the mistakes and the flaws that he has, as I normally do for any other fighter. Okay. This is constructive feedback. Okay. Now, again, with the Tyson thing, Tyson was a destructive force in the heavyweight division. Joshua was not really looked upon as a destructive force. Yes, he was a top guy, but he was hurt many times against guys. He was hurt by Dillian White by a left hook, and some people thought that Dillian White didn't even throw enough mustard on that shot. Okay, he was hurt. He almost got knocked out in that fight. He was definitely hurt against Vladimir Klitschko, almost got knocked out. Okay, he was definitely hurt against Alexander Povetkin. He was hurt against Carlos Takam, even though Carlos Takam was losing that fight. He was hurt against Takam. So this man's been hurt many times. He showed many vulnerabilities and flaws. So to me, that comparison, I don't agree with. Is it an upset? Absolutely. Because I thought Joshua was going to win this fight. But it's not. You can't compare this to the Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas thing. No way. I totally disagree with that notion. So, again, I think Joshua will come back from this, but I just don't think he should be taking an immediate rematch. I just don't think he should do it. If he does, it's a terrible mistake. Okay? Terrible mistake. And the one thing I gotta say about this is Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, and Dillian White chimed in on this situation. For one, I got to give Tyson Fury some credit because he was actually more sympathetic, given the fact that they've had their nasty rivalry over the years, meaning Anthony Joshua. He was very gracious to him and said, you know what? Despite our animosity towards each other, you're a great fighter. You'll always come back. You'll learn from this. That's just paraphrasing what Tyson Fury said. So that was a very, very commendable thing for him to do. Now, Deontay Wilder was not sympathetic at all, okay? He really laced in or went in at Anthony Joshua, called him you're not a true champion. You lied about me, and you tried to defame me, this, that, and the third. And Wilder have every right to feel that way. But at the same time, man, as a Deontay Wilder fan, I just don't like Deontay doing that, man, because you kicking the man while he's down. That's just not cool, man. Not cool at all. That's, of course, Wilder playing the villain as he is, right now to the boxing public, which is working to increase his profile. Yeah, people are not going to like that. He's actually going to attract more haters for that comment. Now, the one thing I did not see is that, a lot of people did try, kind of chime in on Wilder going at him for doing that, which rightfully he should. He should be getting a lot of heat for doing that. But the one thing I did not see is that Dillian Whyte getting heat for what he said, because Dillian Whyte himself was not sympathetic towards Joshua. You know what he did? He retweeted a quote from someone else, I believe. And this quote says, "This is what happened when you don't have any drugs in your system." Now it was an indirect shot at Anthony Joshua, accusing him being on PEDs throughout the course of his career. Okay, now he's not failed a drug test, but we can't turn a blind eye and not to believe that he's on something. I believe he's on something, but until he's innocent until proven guilty, yes. Okay, just like I think any other heavyweight's on something. But the fact is that Dillian Whyte went at him very hard with that indirect shot. Okay. But speaking of those guys, okay, and Deontay Wilder, you gonna get it, bro. You gonna get it right now, because first of all, if this should have been you in there that night, not Andy Ruiz, okay? Now you and your team and Joshua's team, you guys both need to be blamed for this, because you guys should not have allowed or agreed to marinate the fight. You guys should not have done this, okay? And this is what I feared, because after what we saw, what happened at 154, I feared this was going to come to fruition at heavyweight. I feared it, okay? Listen to my chat that I had with Ring IQ. Shout out to Ring IQ, by the way. We both mutually agreed that this was more likely going to happen the longer both sides is going to marinate the fight. Let's be real, okay? That should have been you in there, okay? And number two, Dillian Whyte. That should have been you in there, okay? Even though that would have been more of a 50-50 fight, because Dillian Whyte does not have the skill set of Andy Ruiz. But Dillian Whyte turned the fight down, and he had his reasons, because Joshua did not want to agree to a lengthy drug testing period, okay? But still, that should have been him in there. Luis Ortiz, yes, Luis Ortiz actually wanted the fight, but his promoter fucked that deal up by being greedy. That should have been him in there. And honestly, even though Ortiz was banged up in his last fight against Christian Hammer, judging by what I seen in there against Andy Ruiz last night, Ortiz would have beaten Anthony Joshua. And those out there who saying that, Wilder clowning, he still ducked the fight. Yeah, he ducked the fight, just like Anthony Joshua ducked the fight. But guess what? All you guys are saying that, know deep down in your hearts, if that was Deontay Wilder in there last night, he would took Anthony Joshua's head off. He would decapitated him. You guys know that. Why? Because Wilder is too quick, he's too slick, and he's just as fast as Andy Ruiz, okay? Just as fast. He may not throw as many punches as Andy Ruiz, but we all know that Wilder has that one-punch knockout dynamite, and he does have power in that left hand too. Believe it or not, he does. And believe me, that guard that Anthony Joshua was throwing up, Wilder would have punched right through that with no problem. And you guys know that. So I'll be kind of back off on that whole, Deontay Wilder still ducked, so for a reason to go after him, but that's fine. You can do that, but I'll kind of back off on that, because you guys know damn well that Joshua could have got been much worse state than he was against Ruiz last night if he fought Wilder that night. Let's be real. He would have been in much worse condition. He probably wouldn't be able to speak, to be honest with you. Not to be cynical or funny, but let's be truthful here. He would have, okay? So, other than that, other than that, that's all I got to say about this. And by the way, guys, I have to apologize for this long upload. I haven't done a long video upload in a long time. And the reason being is because there is some technical issues going on with the Google Hangouts. So, let's hope that Google is on, their tech support team is on it. Hopefully they get that rectified very soon. So, or actually that situation troubleshooted very soon, I should say. So, other than that, let me know what your thoughts about this. Do you agree with my opinions or you disagree? Let me know. Keep it respectful. I'm out. Peace. Oh, one more thing before I go. I forgot to mention one thing. I know Deontay Wilder has a rematch signed in, penciled in, I should say, against Luis Ortiz this fall. If I'm Wilder's team, and by the way, Andy Ruiz has won the belts, he's actually bringing the other three championship belts back over to the PBC, meaning Al Heyman now has the lock on the heavyweight division now. I know some of you guys don't like to hear that, but that is the awful truth now. The fact is now that's happened. Deontay Wilder's team is going to have to really look into that, trying to make that unification bout with Andy Ruiz. They're going to have to do it because if I were them, I would scrap the Luis Ortiz rematch. I would do it. I would do it because at this point, it's kind of meaningless because now the heavyweight division landscape has changed. It's time that we get that undisputed unification happen. And do not allow the marination process to happen. I know they're probably going to go for that because now the Andy Ruiz, well, probably I should say, now that given that Andy Ruiz is the first Mexican heavyweight champion, he could potentially become a big boxing star in the heavyweight division because you have to understand, boxing is extremely popular in the Mexican population. It is. So they're going to probably run with that situation and probably perhaps put on Wilder versus versus Ruiz on Cinco de Mayo, which go up against Canelo on the zone, which could be very, very dreadful for them for the unification undisputed heavyweight championship. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts about this. I'm out.